Okay, let me give you the context. This is going to be a healing session. Healing session means I felt like I need to give myself the room to express myself in whatever way. So this is what this video is about. So let's get started. Maybe in the past you felt like you couldn't express yourself, and I think the easiest way to resolve that is to give yourself the room to express yourself now. And you can only do that by not rushing it, so that the things can untangle the knots. It won't look beautiful. It might look ugly. And you might be afraid of what comes up. And there also might not come up anything at all. And you might notice the urge to speak or whatever. And you wonder if you're doing it right and all of that. But the underlying message is you have to do what you have to do. So when you feel like you have to do something, then do it. Of course, don't do anything stupid. But often we give it more, we think it's worse than it actually is. For example, here, I mean, if I'm doing a bad video, it's not the end of the world, right? But in our minds, it could be. But of course, don't harm anybody else. That would be, I mean, you will know where the line is, right? My expectations were that I would have much more trouble expressing myself, that I would make much longer pauses. I mean, right now I'm observing that I am kind of, I wouldn't say forcing, but I'm kind of attempting to speak somewhat fluently. Because there's also no point in just waiting and saying nothing at all. Maybe, yeah, so that's also a really interesting question actually. Because it's a balance. How much should we think before we speak, and how much should we speak right then and there with what we currently came up with? And yeah, I think this ties back to that there are many different modes of expression. For example, when you share a story of yourself, then you probably can just speak much more like what just comes up. When you do an introspective session or when you talk about some philosophical concepts, you can probably think a bit more before you speak. So it always depends on the context and the circumstances. And when you do a healing session like we are doing now, where the goal is to let myself express in whatever way I want, then actually it becomes something different again, because in this case I have to observe when I'm doing what and why. When I'm doing what and why. If I'm noticing I'm waiting too long because I'm afraid to say anything wrong, for example, this is a very valuable insight in the healing context. When I'm noticing I'm talking too fast without thinking because I'm afraid that my pauses are too long, then that's also a very valuable insight. So the goal really is, as always in finding your authentic expression, it's, I believe, always that you come back to your center, which means you center yourself in your own awareness field, and then you notice what's going on, like the nervousness in your chest, like the thoughts that are appearing in your head, the surroundings and everything, the chair you're sitting on. And from that, you become aware that all you need to know is right here in this moment. That's always the message with finding your authentic expression. Because when you do it like that, and you don't have the words right now to express something, it's not a problem anymore. Before it was, because before, when you were not centered in your awareness, then you were with your attention outside of you, in other people, how they might react and perceive you. So then, when you don't express like you would like you feel like is appropriate, then it becomes a problem because they might judge you. But when you center yourself back in your own awareness, then the way you're expressing is the only way there is, because you can't do it any other way anyways. So you're thinking less about how other people might perceive you and more about what you can actually do in the moment with what is available to you. It's good that I'm taking a pause here, because this was a very important point I brought up. And as I said, there are different modes. Okay, but now another interesting question, right? If we do that, get back into our own awareness, this is the first step. Okay, fine, now I'm back in my own awareness, but now we might ask ourselves, okay, what the hell should I do now? What the hell should I do now? Because now I can choose a lot of different things I could do, right? I could go in many different directions, right? With where I want to take the message or the conversation, for example. So, and it's always the same answer. You have to work with what is currently available to you in terms of information. So, okay, what does it look like in my case? In my case, the initial intention for this video was to have a healing session, which means I can express in whatever way I want. I give myself the room to do that. But maybe now I've noticed that when I give myself the room, I might not know what I want to talk about, because maybe I don't have anything to say anymore. And then there could be many options, right? I could end the video, I could wait if some other things come to mind, I could try to force something up, and many different things. So how should we decide then? How should we decide in such a situation? That's an interesting question I have. And of course we have some things like values and principles, right? For example, for me it might look like expressing authentically and being honest somewhat, honest at least, and giving it your best shot, being courageous, for example. And those values and principles will steer our actions to some degree. And then there's also the intention we've set for a specific duration, for this video for example, which will influence the actions. And then there are also other influences which decide about our actions. So what's really the takeaway here? Well, I believe the takeaway is, if you feel, first of all, if you feel like doing something, you do it. Then second point is, you always come back to your own awareness field and work with what information is available right now in this awareness field. And third point about making decisions, when there are multiple options, well, same thing. You have to take a second to retreat in your awareness field, you take in all the information, and then you make a decision what to do. But this might take a few seconds. Yeah, another thing I forgot, feeling and intuition is also influencing your actions, right? For example, you might feel intuitively that it's the right time to stop the video or to talk about something. I mean, yeah, you can call it whatever you want. I'm not sure if intuition or feeling is the right word for it, but anyway, it's something that comes up in your field of awareness as a signal. Signal is maybe the best word because it's most neutral and describes what it without attributing any unnecessary stuff. Yeah, so I would say listen to your signals in your field of awareness. They could be in your body, they could be extra, outside your body, wherever you think you gather your signals. Anyway, they are coming up in your awareness and in your awareness only. So I believe like this was actually a nice chat. It turned out to be a nice chat. So that's somewhat surprising because I thought I would struggle a lot more in expressing myself. Yeah, so that was interesting.